Okay. In this video, I wanted to talk about different functions of proofs. So writing could be done for many different reasons and many different purposes. And same with proof. So proof seems like, well, okay, we want to verify that the theorem is true. That's the main function of proofs. But there are other purposes that people might write down proofs for. I just kind of want to give you some food for thought of how proofs could be used other than um, the obvious function. So let's jump right to the notes. Okay. So definitely the primary function of proofs is verification of the truth. So you want to see if a particular fact is true or not. You could write down a proof to convince yourself that it's true. So maybe you have a conjecture like, hey, I see this pattern quite frequently. I wonder if it's always this. And then you can try to prove it to convince yourself that it is true. And once you understood something, you also want to be able to tell others and convince other people that what you say is true. So it's a way to persuade other people that what you're trying to say is true as well. So that's the two side of the verifying the truth. There are other reasons why people might write down proofs. So sometimes some true facts are mysterious, and you want to know why that works, or you wanna show why this thing is true. And sometimes, not always, but writing down a proof will explain why it has to be that way, and it's more easier to click why you gain more intuition about the situation. So maybe you don't doubt that something is true, but you want to understand the why, and the why comes from the proof. So that's proof for explanation. Proof could be used for discovery. So you're exploring something and you're playing around with a number or some definition, and maybe you discover something that you didn't know before. So there's some playing around, and the proof could be used that way as well. You just want to explore what's true out there. You're not particularly looking to prove something, but like, oh, hey, you can play around with this and see if you get a particular pattern out of it. um, Proof could be used for intellectual challenge, like a puzzle, or competition problems, or like, hey, this thing is true. Can you prove why it's true? So it's a puzzle. So that's proof could be used that way as well. It's like you want to see if you can prove it. Here's an important thing that we need proofs for, is that there are a lot of true facts out there, but some truths depend on other truths. So in mathematics, we have to start with axioms. There has to be a set of axioms that the other theorems could build off of. Mathematics is not built on nothing, right? So you want to try to write down some simple axioms about an object like a set. Like, how does set behave, or how does an integer behave? But you might write down a few different properties that you want them to have, but you might not. It might not be easy to tell if another fact relies on the other facts. Or is one consequence of the other. So you want to write down proofs and see if you can prove like a third axiom from the first two axiom to see how they're dependent on another. So it'll be more elegant if you have a fewer number of axioms and you want to pick a nicer, easy to use axiom rather than a convoluted or very complicated axiom. So you might have to sort that out by writing down, trying to prove those some basic facts and propositions you might have. So that's proof for axiomatizing. And proof is used for communication as well. So like as a society, no one person knows everything there is to know about mathematics. So there are papers that get published on journals, but once you get it out there, it's communicated to the world that we now know this thing is true. So proof is kind of communicating to the rest of the world that now we know this is true. So that's one way to use a proof as well. Sometimes you need a proof to justify a definition. So definition is not an easy thing to make. Well, I mean, maybe sometimes it is, but it turns out that after many different types of proofs, you realize a particular form of definition is more useful than the other. Like maybe it's equivalent, but you wanna use the one that makes the proof the simplest and easiest to understand. So you might not have seen many of these, but things like maybe in the future you might learn what's called compact sets. And if you learn, if you take topology or real analysis, you'll run into this. And at the first hand, the definition that you see might seem very awkward. Like, why is this compact, or why is this definition even necessary? And only from experience, I think, that you realize how elegant the definition is and how useful it is. So you might need a proof or two to justify why a certain definition makes sense. You could do proof for practice or proof for illustrating technique. So you've done a lot of this with chapter 3, induction. Yeah, of course. So induction is a particular proving technique, and I might just give you a lot of problems just to practice or illustrate like how this technique works. There are other techniques that people might use just to illustrate, hey, here's a proof technique. So you might write down a proof for that. And this is, I think, the hardest one that I want to get through to you, is to have proof for providing autonomy. So my hope for you is that when you learn mathematics, like you're not kind of railroaded on this particular theory that you follow the textbook, you read definition, theorem, and proofs, and never go outside of the exercises of the book. What I want you to be able to do is to be inspired by a subject and try to explore on your own. Like you decide what you want to explore, and being able to write down proofs like gives you the power to do that. You can now explore different types of truth. You could become a mathematician. That's what it's about. So you can write down proofs for autonomy. And that's what I mean by that. Okay, so those are non-obvious functions of proofs, I think. I hope you kind of pause and think about it sometime. Okay, this is the end of the video. I will see you later.